We are now less than 1 year away from the 2024 presidential election. A new ABC News Ipsos poll shows most Americans, 76% of those polled, think the country is headed in the wrong direction. I want to bring in ABC News Political Director Rick Klein to break down these results for us. Rick, this new poll is giving some insight into where things stand, and it just seems like people are exhausted with all of the options available to them right now. What sticks out to you from these numbers?
It's really striking, Diane, because as much as you see in that poll the wrong direction dominating, people are very frustrated across a range of issue areas. They really don't like either of the main candidates. A year out, it looks very likely that Joe Biden is going to be the Democratic nominee, but only about a third of the country approves of him or views him favorably right now. Half the country views him unfavorably. And then Donald Trump's numbers are even worse. Even given the state of affairs right now, he's viewed 60% of the country views him unfavorably. And Diane, in this poll, we asked people, are you more likely to vote Republican if the nominee isn't Trump? You're more likely to vote Democratic if the nominee isn't Biden. And there you see it, about 3 in 10, almost the exact same number for both of them. Even though they're the likely nominees, say they're more likely to vote for that party's nominee if it isn't the current frontrunner. So, Rick, how are people feeling about the frontrunners right now? It's really grim across the board. And I think, to me, it just underscores the uncertainties ahead, because no one has cast a vote at all. But 2 months before the voting starts, people are really down on both of them. And we've seen this in other polling that shows a tough matchup and Biden trailing in some battleground states against Donald Trump. But truly, the campaign hasn't begun. And the case against Trump hasn't been prosecuted by Biden. We see him just in court today, this remarkable kind of split screen moment where he's in court even while Ron DeSantis is in Iowa. So to me, it just reminds us that most of the action around politics truly hasn't happened yet. Voting doesn't begin for a while, and another debate on Wednesday means that things are just getting started, truly. Rick, does this open the door a bit more for primary challengers or even a third-party candidate to come into this race? On paper, for sure. I mean, this is the dynamic that would suggest that there's room for others to join. But functionally speaking, it really is almost impossible now to mount a primary challenge. Dean Phillips, we saw the Congressman from Minnesota getting in just a couple weeks ago. He isn't even running anywhere that he can win delegates. And unless Joe Biden were to announce right now that he's getting out, it's going to be hard to actually accumulate delegates through the primary process. And similarly with Trump, people are talking still about Glenn Youngkin potentially getting in the race, but I don't see that happening, even if he has a huge day tomorrow in those elections in his home state of Virginia. The fact is, those dynamics are what they are for a reason, and I think it's very likely that the nominees are going to be people that are currently running. So what are you watching for in the next few weeks, Rick? Well, this is a very consequential week because you have this big moment for DeSantis in Iowa. You have this big moment for Trump in court. We have the debate coming up Wednesday, a significantly smaller stage than we've seen in the past. This time, of course, Mike Pence has dropped out. It looks like there'll only be 5 candidates there, and we'll have to see if that changes the dynamics. Rick, you just mentioned Trump in court. We're now watching the former president walk back into that courtroom, set to take the stand again after a short break in that New York civil fraud trial. The judge has already admonished Trump and his attorneys for making speeches instead of just answering the questions. We heard the judge saying that this is not a political rally, it's a courtroom. Trump apparently has remained calm. He hasn't raised his voice, but he has repeatedly criticized the trial as very unfair. His attorneys have argued that this is an unusual situation and an unusual trial. Rick, how much of what Trump says on the stand today is about what's happening in the New York courtroom versus the fact that he knows he has this stage right now and he's using it as a political opportunity? Yeah, I'm tempted to give you numbers because we just had polls, but I think an overwhelming majority of what we're seeing right now is a lot more politics than it is the practicalities in court. He and his team are basically resigned to the fact that they're losing this case in New York. The judge has indicated that already a finding on the main point in it. It's really a question of how much the damages are, and then the question of what the political fallout becomes a real one. And to John Carl and John Santucci's points earlier, so much of what he's saying in there just sets up the argument that he's going to be making outside the courthouse in fundraising appeals and to Republican primary voters. He's claiming that this is all a witch hunt, that it's all designed to bring him down. The consequences of this in terms of his image are real, but so will be the consequences in the other direction. And that's the message that I think he's serving pretty clearly from inside that courtroom today. He is going to continue to merge those political and legal strategies into one. All right, ABC News Political Director Rick Klein. Rick, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.